always want to tell parents, don't bubble wrap your kids. Let them face challenges. If they're getting bullied, let them face it and help them overcome it. Don't go to the principal and try and fix their problems for them all the time. Well, with kids feeling like everyone's lives are perfect except their own, right? So I think, but with all this, we need to set boundaries for our kids. We've taken a lot of independence away from our kids. And agency and autonomy are at the core of human needs. That and that kind of fosters confidence and responsibility. We kind of bubble wrap our kids. We don't want them to do chores. We want to make sure that they're safe all the time. We want to make sure that they don't fall down and get hurt. And we don't understand that when we do these things, we actually take away our children feeling that we trust their abilities.
Welcome to a brand new episode of Navigating Life with Human Compass Season 2. This season, we connect with women entrepreneurs who have been not just broken the myths, but they have been there, they have broken the ceilings, they have seen it and they've done it. And they will always be a guiding human compass to all of us. My name is Aarti Desai. I'm an actor as well as a theatre artist. I do voiceover and dubbing as well. And on my show today, I have a grand privilege and an honor to welcome one of a very big names in Indian education space, Miss Lina Ashar. Lina Ashar, an expert educationist who conducts workshops not only on parenting and children, but is also author of books such as Drama Teens and Who Do You Think You Are Kidding? Her passion to revolutionize education and the way children learn and grow has led her to be a lead influencer in the Indian education space with over 30 years of experience in creating engaging and effective learning system, which caters to different age groups and contexts. Lina ma'am has been founder of Kangaroo Kids Education and Dreamtime Learning. She has also founded two most valuable names in Indian education, Kangaroo Kids Preschool and Billabong High International School. Welcome, ma'am.
Hi, Aarti. You'll have to first learn to stop calling me ma'am.
Welcome, Lina. We are very glad to have you on board.
I'm delighted to be here because you have no clue. I mean, when I got the invitation and I saw the word human compass, I said, "Oh my God, how aligned is that with Dreamtime Learning?" As even though they're two separate terms, in terms of vision, they're so much aligned. It's we have a notion of a neural compass or an internal GPS, and we know that we actually scientifically have certain brain cells that function like an internal GPS. But
Yes.
Metaphorically, Dreamtime Learning is to say that we can help kids create guiding principles and sort of value and navigation systems that help them live their best possible life. And so having kids use their human compass, we want them to live fulfilling lives. And so it was just so beautiful. I said, oh, this name is just so apt with what we are wanting to do at Dreamtime Learning. So it's wonderful. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you. My children they have gotten educated under your system. So I know exactly what you mean to say. And it's been very fulfilling in their early education. So yes, that's true. So coming to something that is always makes me think is whenever we parents meet, there is always this word used, struggle. Nowadays, parents are really struggling to manage their children. Some of them are even opting not to have children because of that. So parents are so overwhelmed. They feel sometimes that they're totally disconnected from their children and they don't belong to this era. Certain things that they are not able to understand. So I've always felt that they are not able to cope up with the new changes that are happening in the surroundings. Like children today are not being or they are not growing up the way we grew up. As you rightly pointed out in your book, that who do you think we are kidding? We as parents, we cannot live in the towers that we've built in the past. So I would like you to share some tips on how one can be an effective and an engaging parent in the new age where there is a lot of digitalization, where there are mobiles and kids are always on their iPad or you know things like those.
So, Aarti, first is to be very conscious and mindful of the words we use. So we kind of, I tell parents, don't use the word struggle, use the word challenge. It speaks differently to the brain. Um, and we cannot help but sort of embrace the world that our kids are born into. And, if we resist it, it doesn't do us any good and it doesn't do our kids any good. So first, I think embracing the reality is the first step towards kind of us understanding that the world that our kids are born into is different to the world that we were born into. And it helps us, if we understand that, it helps us to connect with our kids in a meaningful way. Otherwise, we're constantly resisting it. So one is to be constantly aware and keep yourself learning and updated with what are the latest technological trends and what are the digital platforms. And if we can use that to understand the world that our kids are navigating, it's one of the it's one of the um, most remarkable times in human history because kids are born in this in between almost like crossroad of where it's the creator economy. It's no longer the industrial economy. So what does the creator economy mean? And at the other side, they're constantly bombarded with distraction because it is the creator economy. So everybody is vying for our attention.
True.
So if we are up to date with what's going on, like there's nothing like understanding and connecting with your kids other than playing a digital game that they're playing, right? To even understand why they're playing it. So
Yeah.
I think one is to encourage independence. We've taken a lot of independence away from our kids. And agency and autonomy are at the core of human needs and that kind of fosters confidence and responsibility. We kind of bubble wrap our kids. We don't want them to do chores. We want to make sure that they're safe all the time. We want to make sure that they don't fall down and get hurt. And we don't understand that when we do these things, we actually take away our children feeling that we trust their abilities,
True.
that we
True.
trust them and we trust them to make the right choices and we can talk them through those choices. We tend to overmanage, overprescribe our kids and their time. And when we make kids feel like they're not capable, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like I tell teachers, don't ever say, or parents, don't say my kid is shy because the more you say it, like every word speaks to your brain, right? It alters the structure of your brain. So each time you say my kid is shy, my kid is shy, my kid is shy, your kid starts the self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, I'm shy. Now what are the ways in which I should show that I'm shy? And I think instead of us nagging our kids, we've got to sort of engage in open discussions about the negative impacts. At the end of the day, our kids are born to survive. Our human brains are born to survive. It's just that kids don't understand it right now. So if you show kids that you can use social media for good, you can use it to start a revolutionary movement, to have your voice heard. But there's also kids constantly posting everything perfect in the world. Like I told you, Aarti, I'm divorced. If I was divorced today, would I post that on social media? Maybe not. But my
Mhm.
marriage, I'll easily post on social media. So that ends up with kids feeling like everyone's lives are perfect except their own, right? So I
Mhm.
think, but with all this, we need to set boundaries for our kids. And once we explain the logic, I remember being in school once, and a kid wanted to do well because he wanted to be a doctor. And he kind of said to me, but he keeps, he does get distracted because that's the age we're living in. The world wants to distract us. So I kind of asked him, what would help you? And he said, like, if I didn't have my phone, but I don't want my mom to have it. So I said, well, I've got a great, idea. Well, what would happen if you took a little safety box and locked your phone and gave that box to your mom? So it takes away the temptation. Anything you move away further from yourself. So if you are prone to eating like chocolate before you sleep or a snack before you sleep, the further away you put that snack, the lazier our brain is to get it, right? And that includes any distraction.
True.
The distraction can be chocolate bars or phones or digital devices. We just have to keep it like further and further away. And I think the last thing I would always say, because I grew up in Pali Hill and I've seen, Kangaroo Kids was in Pali Hill.
Yes.
I always want to tell parents, don't bubble wrap your kids. Let them face challenges. If they're getting bullied, let them face it and help them overcome it. Don't go to the principal and try and fix their problems for them all the time. So I think, you know, in this world that is really unpredictable, these are the things that I can sort of say that, we have to have traditional wisdom and we have to have modern understanding and we have to marry the two somehow. That's the only way that, we can embrace the current world.
True, true. I totally agree to all your points because at initial career, I have also been a teacher, and yes, I have also faced this, and I am always a promoter of the thought that don't be always, as you said, don't always keep showing them everything that is positive, because when the day when they will have to encounter anything that is negative, they'll be lost. They will not know how to cope up or even accept it, that this is how it is. Whatever you said, I totally agree with it.
I keep trying to tell parents that pain is part of the human condition.
True.
We're all going to face loss, rejection, death.
True.
We're all going to face things that we don't enjoy facing. It's do we want to give kids the tools and ways to navigate through that, or do we want to solve the problem till one day we're not there, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then kids break down.
Yes. It's a fact, especially when
Absolutely.
they come down to my age, when the parents aren't around, then it gets very difficult to cope up and to take decisions for yourself. So moving further, like every age has its own challenges, but with current rapidly evolving highly competitive world where things are changing and evolving very fast than ever before, like by the time students graduate, they are like into a totally a different field. Some of them don't even want to continue what they've studied. Some of them are pressurized from home that
Yep.
you have to do this. Like I've worked with students who actually don't want to be engineers, they want to be filmmakers, they want to do ads, but at the end of the day the thing is, ma'am, we will have a second option, no? If the filmmaking doesn't work, at least this will help. But where is your heart? Wherever the heart is, that's exactly where you're going to go. So eventually you're going to drop engineering and get, like I've worked with directors who are doctors, but they didn't want to do that, but they did. So what would be your advice to students or parents on to how they can prepare themselves in this new agile world, and how important are skills such as change adaptability and emotional resilience and learning agility on
Well,
that?
that's the only thing there is, right? Because we don't know where AI is going to take us. Nobody knows. Even the most intelligent minds like Ray Kurzweil, doesn't know where AI is going to take us and what it kind of means for kids. That you're in the 4 years of engineering, and by the time you finish, the first 2 years of what you've learned is already outdated, right? So I think what you learn is not important anymore, but being excited to learn is very important. Having a growth mindset is really important. Being very curious and open to new experiences is very important. So, sort of having learning agility that, today I've learned to be this, but in that process, I can learn to be anyone. It's because it's no longer, content is no longer king. If I want a script today, I can ask ChatGPT for a script. I have to know how to ask the right questions, but I can ask it for a script. But I cannot learn from anywhere how to be emotionally resilient other than the way I've been brought up. That's not just the way I've been parented, but also the way I've been educated, right? So for kids, I say practice mindfulness, practice self-regulation. What are stress reduction techniques? Make sure that you understand how to be in control of your emotional and mental health. Just the ability to learn is really important. So understanding how your brain best learns, understanding what kind of really kicks you to learn, what excites you to learn, what are the deep questions you have, because we kind of look at kids and we say, like, as career counselors, okay, you're good at this, this, and this, so you should go into science and engineering, or you should go into um, humanities, but it's not about that anymore. It's like you can learn anything, online courses, workshops, through reading. Um, um, you can learn anything, but if are you excited about learning? So we need to change the framework of, that this is the content, this is the syllabus, this is what you have to complete, to, more things like doing more project-based learning, more genius hour learning, which is what Google sort of started, is where I have a deep question. Like, my entire education philosophy has come from, Jim Jones, Jonestown, where people did all this mass suicide, self-suicide, and my deep question was like, when the human being is brought up to learn to kind of survive, how could this happen, and why does this happen? And then I started studying, people who kind of wreaked havoc and pain on the world, like Hitler and serial killers, and then I started understanding what their childhoods were about, and I said, hey,
Yes.
we can do exactly this, but for good. And when we do this for good, we can build a really great human compass in the brain. I think the only thing we can do for our kids is to provide support, encouragement, promote their intrinsic need to learn. So we're not saying you have to go and do engineering, or you have to do medicine, or you have to do this, but like, what are you really excited by? And letting kids then kind of find their personal monopoly. Standardized learning is out, like that we all learn the same thing at the same time, the same content. That is like a thing of the past. So what is a thing of the present is what makes me uniquely me, where it's difficult to replicate me or to replace me. Like, so for someone like me, it's a cornerstone of what I call neuroeducation. It's neuroscience, understanding behavioral science, understanding the science of learning, understanding motivation, like, all those kind of things. And then how do I put that together to create great learning experiences for kids?
Hmm, that I totally agree, because I have also realized at the end of the day that when a person behaves in a certain pattern, when a person behaves in a certain manner, and especially the ones who are very close to us, and sometimes we feel we are very hurt by them, but it's always good to know where did they come from, how was their childhood, how were they raised, what are the difficulties that they have faced then, because that really makes us.
Absolutely.
We may just put it in some corner of our brain, but eventually it does show up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's why
Absolutely.
even for my own children, I'm like, don't do this because I'm telling you to do. Don't do this because I'm asking you to do. This is what I recognized in you that has a good impact, or something that you like. If you like, continue it. If you do not like, find another way. But find a way that makes you happy, makes you fulfilled, and doesn't make you jump over from this career onto that, and then onto that, and then, like, I don't know what to do.
Yep.
Yeah,
And in tomorrow's world, jumping is also going to be normal.
yeah,
Where
it's
we used
happening.
to have jobs and sit in the same seat and position for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it's not going to be like that anymore.
True, true,
So
true.
jumping is also going to be normal.
Yeah. So, uh, moving on from there, I would also like you to give your views, particularly on women who are increasingly making a mark and trying to keep space with men shoulder to shoulder in a lot of fields. So, what would be your advice to them? What are the top three things they should or can consider while going ahead with their venture or passion or career ambitions? Because there are a lot of women who do face difficulties. I've seen a lot of women also give up, not continue with their education. Some of them, they are well educated, they do not pursue their careers. They do not want to step out and work, because then sometimes it's the family, then the children, then this. So what would be your guidance to them? How
So
can they navigate?
the sad thing is if you've been indoctrinated from a very early age that, you're um, that girls are princesses and you're like Cinderella, and that means, you're vulnerable and you need a man to protect you. And sometimes it's just too late when a girl becomes a woman, that how do you shift that indoctrination? Because the brain's already programmed, unless this person has a huge shock or a setback, or then has a force, force to change. If we're coaching women, then we kind of have to talk to women to introspect, to define their values, their goals, what motivates them, and to work towards that. I always would tell women, don't try and become like a man. We need more feminine energy in the world. We need more collaboration rather than competition. We need those kind of things to make sure that humanity survives. At the moment, we're living in a world where we're just consuming, consuming, consuming. And even if it's a female brand, it's mostly men at the helm of these brands. And it's all about your top line and bottom line. And it doesn't matter if you plunder the planet, or, what you're doing with resources, or, because corporations don't have a human compass. They've got a corporate compass. And, that makes it really, really difficult. So we actually just need a lot more female energy in the world. um, Female energy doesn't push, it pulls. Female energy doesn't use, force, it uses energy. Female energy doesn't look to compete all the time, it looks to collaborate. Female energy doesn't want to kill, because we're the nurturers and bearers of children, right? We're born here to um, to nurture, to create safe spaces. So I'm just saying that if you hold on for a little while, it's only going to be female energy that's really kind of wanted in the world. So one is, it's a little too late to, if you've been indoctrinated to being a good wife, a good daughter, a good daughter-in-law, a good mother, and everything, good. And then we carry so much guilt and shame around when, and it happens naturally, right? It's not like I have not faced it in my growing up. I remember once coming home when I had Kangaroo kids in Billabong High, and I came home at like 8 o'clock, and my dad was here, and I walked in, and he was sulking and scowling and stuff like that, and I had sent a message to say that I'd be late, but he didn't check it, and I just asked him one question: that when my brothers walk in at 8 o'clock, you're almost kind of like, oh, wow, my son's working so hard. They're so driven and determined. But when your daughter walks in at the same time, it comes with this, because you feel I was supposed to do things that were in my female role. Um, you know, yeah. So I'm saying, women, just hold on. It's just around the corner.
Yeah, I totally agree to that. Totally agree, because it is a lot of conditioning that comes from our parents. Don't, like in my times, my mom, I studied at UK, so for 1 year I was like totally free. I could wear whatever I wanted. I could do whatever I wanted, and no one to question, no one to ask. And the minute I landed back to India, I was just wearing a sleeveless t-shirt, and my mother's like, "This is not UK, okay? You're back home." And I was like, "Okay, but what's wrong in this? There's nothing showing." She's like, "No, I do not wish to go out like this with you." So yes, these are things. It took me a lot of time to finally accept that whatever way I may be looking, if this is what I like to wear, yes, this is what I'm going to wear. I'm not going to keep asking. But yes, it is a lot of conditioning that does come from our parents, from our
So
husbands.
for girls and boys both, right? We need, from when we're very, very young, our need to feel accepted and loved is really high, right? And it's just that girls get a lot more constraints around in what ways we'll be accepted and loved. If we're good girls, we're accepted and loved. We're naughty girls, if we like boys, if we do this, that, we're not.
Yeah,
It's not as great for us.
we've come through that era. So I think, yeah, that's true. So now I just want to have like a rapid fire question round. So
Yes.
so Just quickly, your thoughts on emerging trend of virtual education, especially like bite-sized learning. Is it good? Is it bad? Whatever
So
your
we
opinion.
started with cricket that lasted for 5 days, right? Test
Yes.
matches. Then we went to 50 overs. And now at 20 overs, hardly anyone watches 5 day matches anymore. In a nutshell, that's my answer. But bite-sized education is actually the way our brain best learns because it doesn't get cognitively overloaded. And we can repeatedly do bite-sized learning and it goes into our long-term memory. It's a lot better for us.
How a child or a young adult can build uh, personal resiliency, because that is the need also of the hour, an ability to bounce back from failures or from rejections or from setbacks where no is equal to never, or it is like simply not now, or how can they bounce back from that?
Well, so unfortunately, again, the way that they've been parented and educated will have a lot to do with that, right? So we bring kids up thinking to believing that there is one right way, and there's one correct answer to every question, a multiple choice question kind of format. And it's only when kids understand that failure is a part of the journey, falling down is a part of the journey. I sold Kangaroo Kids and Billabong High, and I started Dreamtime Learning. It's not okay for me to say that I don't have fears, that I don't have doubts. We all do. Whenever we're doing something new, we will have that. It's then how do we transform that narrative? How do we reframe our thinking in a way that serves us? So very simply, when kids say something to me, I'll just say, will that thought have you feeling stuck or will it help you move forward? And if that thought has you feeling stuck, how can you change that thought into one that helps you move forward? Because I don't believe that there's positive and negative thoughts,
Yes, true.
right? They're just ones that will help you move, and they're ones that will have you feel stuck. So a great one is life happens to me versus life happens for me. The minute you feel life happens for me, you have a different take on it. So, say a mother has a child that's born with a cognitive disability. You can't change that, right? You can't control it. It's outside your control. You can't you can't give that child away. So you can't change your life condition. If you're in a bad marriage, you can get out of it. But if you're born with a child, you'll still nurture it and look after it. You can have multiple thoughts. Some of them will have you feeling really down and stuck. And there's somebody very dear to me who had a beautiful thought. She's got a child with cognitive disability, and she said, I'm going to have a spiritual take on this. That this child has been born, the soul has been born in this lifetime to rest.
Agree.
So I don't have to push this soul to succeed in conventional ways. The soul will be looked after and taken care of in this birth because that's what the soul's born. Now, you can only when something's outside your control and you can't change it, you can only change what it means to you. So you have to change the story, the narrative.
Yes, true. Agree. Next is your top three focus areas for today's youth.
Top three focus areas for today's youth is understand what causes traction and what causes distraction, and choose what causes traction, obviously. Um, find your authentic place. So go deep and figure out who you are, what your values are, what motivates you, what your goals are. You don't have to live life according to anyone else's standards. A lot of people ask me that, like today, I could just travel the world after selling Kangaroo Kids and Billabong High. I wouldn't have to do this again, but I'm a human soul that's born to create. I'm having the most fun when I'm creating. I'm not having the most fun when I'm consuming or I'm buying or so it's figuring out what makes my soul sing and what makes my soul happy. And the third is just live with intention. Really live with intention. You can live an ordinary life, you can live an extraordinary life, but choose which one you want. So whatever it is, just choose wisely because choose intentionally. That's all.
Next would be your top three advice to parents.
Oh, your children are not your children. Read Khalil Gibran. Because they're really not yours. You're just here to caretake them for, for a while. Another one I always ask parents to read is and you don't have to read, you can just kind of watch Bruce Lipton talk about the biology of belief. So that's another one that I just tell parents, that um, understand the belief you give your children about themselves is the belief that they'll carry throughout life.
Yes.
Enjoy your kids while you have them when they're young, because one day they,
It's gonna
they
fly.
they'll be doing other things. They won't want your attention forever.
You're true. I totally agree. Um, what is your life mantra? What is the mantra that you go by?
It's very much like what I tell kids, right? I live with intention every single day. I know exactly what I want to do in the day. I know what I want to do in the month. I know what I want to do in the year. I know what's very important to me. So, and as you grow, you change. So when I was younger, being popular, having significance and status and fame and financial abundance and these like external markers of success were very important to me. Today I've gone a lot more inward. So it's I think it's just, again, it's just live with intention. Just know who you are, what you want, be self-aware, be mindful, and.
So thank you so much for being on this podcast. It has been a pleasure, really a pleasure having you here. You have always continued to inspire me, even when I was a teacher. And now, when I'm totally into a different field, I'm mesmerized by our conversation and your insights. You're indeed a thought leader, and the generation that you have already influenced and shaped with your curriculum and schools and those that will undergo in future will always be indebted to you for the great work you're doing in this field. You're indeed a true human compass, a living compass that has been guiding, and I'm very confident that you will do so in near future as well. Thank you. Thank you for being with us.